Do you want me to start?
Sure, go ahead.
So, I'm Kim. This is Ray.
Hi.
And for anybody who has been following the story of his special needs adult son, we just wanted to do an update. We did a video last night, but it cut off in the middle and we were kind of jumping around, so we decided to film another one tonight. I know Ray's tired and doesn't feel like it, but I talked him into it. So, anyway, just a quick update for anyone who hasn't seen any of our other videos. His special needs son is 24 years old, but functions about 3 or 4 years old mentally and where he's at developmentally. He's autistic and has a whole host of medical problems, and he's supposed to be in group homes for teams of people to take care of his mental and emotional and behavioral needs. But he, due to some mishaps and misplacement and other mistakes made by the local community mental health and behavioral homes, he has been living in our home for the last 10 months. Several weeks ago they changed his meds and took him off meds he shouldn't have been taken off of, cold turkey, and his autistic episodes became violent. We could no longer handle it in the home. Police had been out several times. It was just a nightmare. He ended up in jail. He ended up from there in the ER, waiting for the right hospital to open up. And then
it made a difficult situation entirely mismanageable.
And then he ended up in a neurological behavioral hospital where we thought he was going to get all the help that he needed, because it was a neurological behavioral hospital for adults just like Jamin. And so this is where, you know, it just gets worse from there, and I understand fully why it's so difficult for my husband to trust other people with his son. So I'm going to let him take it there from there. There's the date.
Well, on July 6th, Jamin was admitted to the neurological behavioral hospital in Crown Point, Indiana, and he's where he remained for 9 days until the 16th of July. And during that time period, the 10 days, I sent an email. I left repeated messages with different people, with the social worker, for the nursing staff, but we've got no really proactive response from them, letting us know of med changes, letting us know. They let us know on the 15th that he had a behavior first thing in the morning, and it was apparently a pretty bad one that required sedatives that didn't work. It also, they required a restraint and a quiet room, and so then the next day they called and said that they were admitting him to another hospital a short distance away for elevated blood sugar, and that they couldn't get it under control. And so...
And what did they tell you? They told you that somebody had given him a cookie and some chips. And
some chips, yes. And so that was the information that we knew, and so we let the hospital do their work. We verified that he was there, and the next day when I called and got a report from the nurse, and I had a discussion with her about it, and she was equally alarmed. His blood sugar was 734, and so it almost put him in a coma, and that would explain the violent reactions, one of the worst ones that he's ever had, the day before that, and
he was in critical condition, and they had to put him in intensive care on an insulin drip.
And so he remained there and actually improved Friday. Quickly and dramatically until he was discharged after a week. And he was his blood sugar, everything was normal. He is on a host of entirely new medication, which they changed, oddly enough, I believe. We don't know the timeline of any of this because we're completely out of the loop, even as his guardian. An entire new batch of medications, and we haven't even gotten the time to break them all down yet
Mm-hmm.
and see what their side effects are. But they made all these medication changes while his brain glucose was dramatically off.
Right.
So I'm concerned about that. Although his behavior and his attitude, his affect, has dramatically improved.
He sounds better.
Yes,
He sounds a lot
yes. And so we're anxious to. At this point,
Mhm.
there is a home that's looking for an intake interview with him, and hopefully that's going to take place at the first part of
Mhm.
this week. And based on his, how quickly he's stabilized, I'm gonna really petition the doctor to, if there's appropriate placement for him, to release him to that
Mhm.
placement as quickly as possible so he can get on with life.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Right. And the goal in all of this is to get him placed in the right facilities, but also to make sure that he is learning all of the skills that he needs to manage his episodes, tantrums, all of
Yes.
those things, without becoming violent and hurting people or hurting himself. And that is ultimately the goal, that he is in a placement where the staff can handle those behaviors should they arise. And we'd be amiss if we said, oh, it'll never happen again, because it's been happening. And, as terrible as it is that it happened here with the police officers that have seen it, here with the hospital that's seen it, in this behavioral hospital that's seen it, it's terrible to say, oh, we're glad it happened, but we are, because now they've seen it and now they know what they have to treat. If you don't know what you have to treat, they're not going to be able to treat him.
Right.
So we have
It's also
hope.
exposed us, me, to other things. There's new medications that are coming down that are just now being FDA approved. There's also treatments that are non-invasive that involve glasses, visual and audio stimulation, because the audio sensory, the perception is off, the processing is, the timing of everything is off in an autistic person's brain to some degree, and then once they're able to determine that degree, the corrections can be made, and stimulation, visual stimulation, can be used with glasses that actually concentrates on areas that are undeveloped and need to be developed in the frontal cortex. So this is all new to us, even though it's been around probably 4 or 5 years. So this has actually helped us to jump on some of those opportunities, and hopes that Jamin is able to just squeeze the most out of life that there is to offer.
And we're also being very careful and now trying to talk to the neurological behavioral hospital and the nurses over there. We've yet to talk to a doctor in the entire time he's been there.
Yeah.
And we know it's the weekend, but starting tomorrow, hopefully, we can talk to the treatment people over there and find out what the meds are, what he's been taken off of, what he's on, what they're for, all of the regular medical meds. When the nurse gave us the list yesterday, there's a lot that's missing.
Right.
So what's going on there? He had an enlarged liver and spleen.
Enlarged kidney.
Yeah, and spleen.
And spleen.
Due to this, and his blood sugar just doesn't go from normal to 700 and was it 38? Because he had a cookie or a bag of chips. That doesn't happen. And so we're trying to find out what happened and hold them accountable, but he's also under their care again. We just want to make sure it doesn't happen again. They have not used Ray as a resource or his endocrinologist as a resource, and so hopefully they're going to open those lines of communication tomorrow. His Michigan Adult Protective Services worker is actually planning a visit to him at that facility in Indiana tomorrow, so that's a good thing. And then we'll find out some more, and we'll update everybody then. Thank you.
Thanks.
So the cat had a toy in her mouth, and she's distracting us through the window.